Who's your... This is my audience.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Bennett, and today I'll be talking about apples. As American as apple pie, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. How do you like them apples? Are a few apple phrases ingrained into our culture. But how often do people think about apples? Or better yet, how much do people actually know? As an avid eater of apples and owner of several apple trees, sharing the history and science behind apples thrills me. For example, one apple seed contains the entire genetic code for every single apple. So if I plant that seed in the ground, an entirely new apple tree will sprout up different from the apple that it came from. And the only way to get a like apple tree is through human interaction, where a human grafts a branch of the desired apple tree onto the sapling of any apple tree. Humans and apples share a unique relationship that traverses history and continues to impact health and science today. To fully understand the impact of the everyday apple, I'll focus on three main topics: the history, genetic diversity, and health benefits of apples. To first understand apples, I'll provide a brief background on their journey through history. Apples have a long history with humans. It starts about 4,000 years ago in the forests of Kazakhstan, and then the humans then took apples and brought them east into Asia and west into Europe. And then from Europe, the pilgrims brought them over to America. And luckily for them that they did that, because America didn't have any safe drinking water, and their only safe source was alcohol. But they couldn't make alcohol because the plants like wheat and barley wouldn't grow in the harsh North American environment. But luckily, an apple is so adaptive that it was able to grow and sprout in America, and they could use apples as cider, and they could have an alcoholic beverage which would also act as fluid. And many years later, a certain man by the name of John Chapman wised up to this, and we know him as Johnny Appleseed. And he went into the Midwest and planted apple trees all around a bunch of different rivers, and then he'd take branches and saplings, and then he'd sell them to travelers, settlers, and frontiersmen in order for them to have some sort of a nourishment and freshly drinking fluid as they traveled west. Fast forward a couple hundred years, the geneticists Patzak, Paperstein, Hennikova, and Sedlak revealed that the actual breeding of apples using grafting didn't actually start until after World War II, and then several years after that, geneticists came sprouting out and focused their attention on apples. The study of the apple genome, however, deserves a more in-depth explanation. Apples are genetically diverse and this provides them with many benefits. So there are about 7,500 varieties of apples, and this is only one of them, and this is one of the few special 100 or so that are commercialized and sold for human consumption. And because they're so genetically diverse, they can be planted anywhere in the world, basically, because they can adapt to many new environments. And so this makes them a global fruit. However, humans are actually harming the biodiversity of apples. In a study done by the scientists Omasheva, Cheklin, and Galiporov, they studied a human-grown apple orchard that was next to a Kazakhstan forest that had apple trees in it, and they revealed that the apple trees in the forest were becoming to be more genetically similar to the ones in the apple orchard, which is a big problem when it comes to survivability. For if a sudden disease breaks out or sudden climate change, then the entire crop could be wiped out and we'd have no more apples from that region. But luckily, due to genetic mapping, people are now learning how to fix these problems. And so the geneticists Keller, Prokovic, and Corbin compiled all bunch of different researches and revealed that humans now know the specific genes for fruit firmness, color, and especially disease resistances. And this will help us fix any damage that humans have done to the apple genetics. But scientists study more than just genetics. Some study the effects of apples on human health. Apples have a plethora of health benefits ranging from short-term to long-term. Some short-term benefits were noted by nutritionist Zantian, and a medium-sized apple like such has about 95 calories and 14% of your daily recommended value of vitamin C. But the long-term health benefits really make apples amazing. For scientist Boyer and Ruhai compiled decades and decades of studies done on people with apples and revealed that apples can actually prevent lung cancer, cardiovascular disease, asthma, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. But the problem with these studies was that they were so varying in different results. So one could say 20% of the people had reduced asthma, and one could say only 5%. But Boyer and Ruhai kind of took a step back and realized that this is because of how diverse apples are themselves. So each different variety of apples has a different set of chemicals in them. And so they compiled all the commercial apples that were commonly eaten to show which apples were actually the best for human consumption. And so the very best was the Fuji apple, had the most chemicals that were helpful long-term for humans, followed by the Red Delicious apple, which is commonly found in breakfast buffets. And then the very worst apple was the Empire apple, next to the Cortland apple, which is the apple most commonly used in applesauce. In conclusion, apples and humans have an incredible history together. Apples supplied humans with the necessary nourishment throughout history, leading our scientists to study their genetics and health benefits on our well-being. However, hopefully you now know more about the history of apples, genetic diversity, and health benefits. As apples continue their journey with humans, think of what new beneficial apples could arise from either genetic modification done by humans or simply just planting an apple seed. Thank you.